What's up, family? I'm Kelvin Allen, and welcome to the KultureKure Podcast. KultureKure is the podcast that features the people and topics that have the power to take you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and let's jump right into it. Did you know that on February 5th, 1885, King Leopold II of Belgium established the Congo Free State as his personal possession? King Leopold II reigned over the Congo Free State, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, from 1885 until 1908. While reigning as the autocratic ruler of the Congo Free State, Leopold II may have killed as many as 15 million Africans. Leopold ran a personal empire so vast and cruel, it rivaled and even exceeded the crimes of the worst 20th century dictators. For almost 30 years, rather than being a regular colony of a European government, the way South Africa or Spanish Sahara were, Congo was administered as the private property of this one man for his personal enrichment. The Congo Free State was in many respects the world's largest plantation and had lost half its population by the time the first census was conducted there, counting only 10 million people living there in 1924. Leopold's reign over the Congo Free State has become infamous for brutality. The people of the Congo were forced to labor for valued resources, including rubber and ivory, to personally enrich Leopold. Estimates vary, but about half the Congolese population died from punishment and malnutrition. Many more suffered from disease and torture. Among those who weren't killed, many were punished by having a hand and or foot amputated. The people of the Congo did not suffer these injustices without fighting back. Several rebellions were mercilessly put down under Leopold's direction. As the realities and suffering within the Congo Free State became more widely known, many European people spoke out against these abuses. Demonstrations and protests demanded that Leopold end human rights abuses in the Congo Free State. In 1908, international pressure forced the king to turn the Congo Free State over to the country of Belgium. The newly named Belgium Congo remained a colony until the Democratic Republic of Congo gained its independence in 1960. Did you know James Mun Smith was the first African American to earn a medical degree? Born enslaved in 1813, Mun started the nation's first pharmacy under black ownership and was the first African American to have their work published in a peer-reviewed medical journal. Smith was also one of the nation's leading abolitionists. In 1859, Frederick Douglass declared, "No man in this country more thoroughly understands the whole struggle between freedom and slavery than does Dr. Smith, and his heart is as broad as his understanding." An activist, writer, doctor, intellectual, James Mun Smith directed his talents to the eradication of slavery. What was hard to bear is sweet to remember. Portuguese proverb. Since my mother's passing, I find myself reflecting every waking hour on the many wonderful memories I have of her. Although I'm grateful for the love and support of my wife, my children, my siblings, and a host of relatives and friends, it's been the vivid memories of my mother that have comforted and sustained me most. One such memory is of my mother refusing to believe the potentially debilitating label placed on me by my first grade teacher, Mrs. Harris. Mrs. Harris, an aging, apparently frustrated teacher, probably should have retired long before I entered her first grade class in 1967. Not a day went by that I didn't feel her wrath. I became so accustomed to her wooden paddle walloping my backside that I began to believe I was bad, and perhaps Mrs. Harris's paddle could make me good. What I didn't realize until many years later is that Mrs. Harris apparently perceived my hesitance to speak up for myself as a mental and emotional deficiency, one that she was determined to cure me of or else rid her class of me. I often reflect on how the old buzzard's perception could have caused me to take a dramatically different course in life had my mother believed the hastily written note she safety pinned to my jacket one day at dismissal time. Mrs. Allen, the note began, I am beginning to wonder about your son. He doesn't behave like other children. He's very quiet and seems to drift off into another world. The note went on to say that Mrs. Harris had gone around the room to check the condition of each child's crayons and found all of mine broken and scattered in my desk. She said I hesitated when asked how they got that way, then blamed a classmate, and she didn't believe me. The child may well be retarded, she concluded, and ought to be checked out. I didn't know what the note said, but I knew it wasn't good. Little did I know that the next morning I'd find myself in unfamiliar surroundings, playing with toy trucks and answering probing questions posed by a tall, friendly white man in a white jacket. Mrs. Allen, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Your son is a normal little boy, the doctor said as he smiled at me. Mrs. Harris never apologized to my mother or me. She still walloped me with her wooden paddle, albeit not as much, and our move to a different school district at the end of the school year kept me from ever having to see her again. Fortunately, times have changed. Nowadays, children who are mentally and or emotionally challenged are no longer referred to as retarded, at least not by professionals. But many children are unfairly labeled with a plethora of other dysfunctions, some real and others not so real. I can't help but think how fortunate I was to have had a mother who was so connected to me and who knew in her heart that she was a better judge of my ability than my teacher had been. Sadly, for many children today, that is not the rule, but the exception. A wise man once said, it doesn't matter whether you're reading something old or new. What matters is that you're reading. With that being said, I'd like to share with you a book that I believe will be well worth you reading. From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century by Dr. William A. Darity and Kirsten Mullen. According to the authors, racism and discrimination have choked economic opportunity for African Americans at nearly every turn. At several historic moments, the trajectory of racial inequality could have been altered dramatically. Today, systematic inequality persists in the form of housing discrimination, unequal education, police brutality, mass incarceration, employment discrimination, and massive wealth and opportunity gaps. Economic data indicates that for every dollar the average white household holds in wealth, the average black household possesses a mere 10 cents. From Here to Equality addresses economic injustices head on and makes the most comprehensive case for economic reparations for U.S. descendants of slavery. Well, that's it, family. So I'll leave you with this. Change your thoughts, and you will change your life. Remember, no one can imagine your life better than you can. What you have assumed you are, you will become. The place you are right now was once just an idea in your head, and there's no one to change but yourself. Remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.